Welcome, UFO Paranormal More, another meeting. I'm your host, Ray Castellanes. I'm going to give some updates. I just met with my Fab 4. Actually, we are morning today. And what they're talking about is the main month in September of taking people off this planet. And so everybody understands what they mean by that is there's people, we're in this human skin suit, okay? We're all ETs. We're a light in our face, belly, hands. Everybody that's down there, there's different nationalities, you know what you see here. We all came from somewhere. We all have our Star Seed family out there we're related to. Now, these people made an agreement 1,000 years ago. These are star travelers and light workers, okay? And they made a commitment to come down to this planet, so like September, a lot of these people already know who they are. Some of them are going to have an ET, female or male, come in a room. I got Chris in Panama, Elaine Kapuckney. There are 2 people that I know that are going to go. And, you know, they're going to go to their star seed. They're going to have assignments to come back here. And what this is going to play out with is when we get into ascension for the 4th and 5th dimension.
How's the weather there?
Come in, sweetie.
Hey.
And they're going to be taught
Hi.
what to do, because we're going to teleport.
Yes, sorry. Yeah,
Like
yes,
if
I did.
if you took that cartoon, Peter Pan, when they're floating up in the sky, that's going to be us. We're going to be closed. We're going to be in a shell. Push it up.
It's done.
And you notice that these black chemtrails are starting to show. I can tell you straight out, there's a chemical in there with acid, and this acid will hurt us. George, my Fab 4 are very aware of this, and they're going to go in there and take them out. They're going to take the planes out too. Planes are going another dimension. These guys are getting paid big bucks to spray us. There's 3 other chemicals that are spraying on us. If you guys have been watching YouTube, Facebook, you actually see the plane spray. My guys are at the end waiting for the plane, and you don't see the plane no more. They just shot him in another dimension, another timeline. You'll see the UFO behind the plane, and they'll both disappear. The UFO took the plane to another dimension. What you're going to start seeing, wait a minute, looks like orbs. George is going to have these little scout ships that'll be shooting laser beams twice to neutralize the chemical, so it doesn't even fall on us. It's another thing they're working on. Go ahead, Andy.
I was just curious if you know the answer. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the plane that's spraying the chemicals, the chemtrails and stuff, you said all of a sudden it disappears and it's being sent into another dimension. Does it also do the same thing there in that other dimension as well? Are they also being sprayed? In other words, when it goes there, is it still spraying? Does it?
Let me put it to you this way. I've been in outer space, just like I am, on a craft, not an astronaut series. This guy's in a plane. When he goes into another dimension, in outer space, he's going to turn into a skeleton and die.
So those other dimensions aren't getting sprayed like we are?
No, because he has no option. If you go into another timeline.
Well, why do we have to get sprayed all the time and not anybody else?
Because the people that have put out money for 500 planes, Dr. Sam Muggsy in Arizona is getting sprayed like fog in California, plus Florida. She's got, in Oregon, she's got military bases galore. There's a vortex over there that John Edmonds, that you've seen on Facebook. And I'm trying to get a hold of him because I want him to speak. George is over there to close that vortex, because here's what's happening. All the bad ETs are coming in. There's underground bases there, and they're getting alien technology for what they're doing, okay? But now there's wars. You're not going to see wars on this planet. You'll see lights and flashes in the sky, because some people are seeing them. They're having battles out there. They're blowing these bastards up, okay? And they're going to close that vortex. This has been going on for a long time. Now that's where George and a lot of ETs, He brought in billions of ETs in this. There's more changes to come on this planet. The crust and the shift of planet Earth. When we really start seeing things happening, you're going to feel movement. Never before. You're going to be scared a little bit. This is coming down the road, then. Earthquake shifts. You're dealing with timelines, our lines, dimensional timelines, their timelines. Everything is involved in this process as we move forward. I'm going to have more meetings with my guys that everybody thinks, because you got 2 main months, September, July. September's the biggie. Then people already know what's going on and they have the agreement. We're human beings. I'm a voice for my guys. I'm also a voice for you guys, for the education I get out of this. It's just like the people I got in this room are the people on the total planet. Everybody's entitled to opinion. Everybody's going to change this and say this. And there you go. You got mass confusion. Just pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm not the only contactee. I've always said if I am the only one that's getting this out, so be it. If these guys haven't lied to me, they've been my friends for 55 years. Okay? I've been in the planet circle 4 times. I've seen this beautiful planet coming in. It's probably the most beautiful planet, planet Earth. And it's round. It's not flat. People are saying it's flat. I don't know. You're going to have all kinds of different things said in this. And as we move forward, these people are human beings. These people are going to be taught. Because I told you guys, when we go into the 4th dimension, we're automatically going to be using teleportation. We're going to be using it before then. Because when they set this whole thing up, and whoever gets first crack at being contact down here, because that's when I reversed that meeting with my guys 2 meetings ago. I've been your voice for 55 years. It's time for you guys to back me up. I don't give a shit who you send down here. Show 4 ETs to these people on this planet. I think we're real. You got good ETs. I will say this. The question came up. So you guys understand this. You do have a right to go in September. And I understand what they're saying. They can't just take you. But these people were under agreement 1,000 years ago. You have to give our good ETs the consent. But you're always going to have this. It's not a perfect world. We'll just play a game. Even though this is your wife, I'm going to play like she corrects mine. Well, this is really great. I love this. No, hey.
We missed what you said about what's happening in September.
I'll tell you. She wants to go. She's ready. But I say no. You're going to have this. Okay? You're going to have the guy want to go, the wife and the girlfriend don't want to go. Why is that? It's not a perfect world. People are scared. People want to stay 3rd dimensional. You won't be on this new planet Earth. Okay? As we move forward, all this information I'm getting out, that's for people to watch these meetings and shows I do with Dr. Sam Muggsy. It's information for us. And you got people on this planet that have no idea what the hell's going on. They're going to be taken care of. And then you got people who don't give a shit. These are the ones we're trying to save. If it comes down to the final time and they're still in that mode, they don't care, they're going to go with the people that kill, steal, the people running this show that try and kill us. You know what they're doing. The game is over for them. Because they're not going to handle that frequency. When Mother Earth does her thing, there ain't a human being that's going to be on this planet. They're all going to die. You're going to turn the stars out. Now, I have my meetings with these guys in days and weeks. It used to be every 2 months because we're getting close. We had 3 years. 2015, I said it before, is an amazing year. We're in the silent year. 2017 is a major year. And we're getting close to where this thing is going to explode and really happen. Okay? And just start listening to the shows I do with Muggsy, what I do here the first Monday of the month, and other contactees like me. Alex Holler is saying a lot of true stuff. I never met him. Listen to him. I just did a roundtable with Tully, Jim Edmonds, with the Irish guys. That's on my Facebook, YouTube, and I do have my own website now. You give it up for my great friend, Alfred Webre.
This is a sort of a summary of the discoveries that we've been working on, I'd say for about the last 15 or 16 years or so.
Yes.
But more largely, I'd say the last 40 years. And what it's done, you can turn to the next slide now,
Okay?
and you'll see two books there, Exopolitics
Go back.
and The Omniverse.
Go back.
And
How do I go back?
we've been able to condense a lot of the findings into those two books, which are available on the internet at Amazon and exopolitics.com, and widely you can go to your local bookstore and order them. And I say that because people who want to go in, you know, they always say, well, what's the evidence of that, et cetera, et cetera. It's all in there, okay?
Okay?
Next slide.
There you go.
So our universe was first formally conceived by Sumerian astronomers around 3500 to 3200 BC in our scientific canon history as a discrete creation of time, space, energy, and matter. And the multiverse was first named in 1895 by the American philosopher and psychologist William James as a collection of all universes. Now, the universe and the multiverse are now, they've been joined by the omniverse that was first formally explored in Alfred Weber's yours truly, 2014 to 15 books on the omniverse as the three central cosmological bodies around which humanity organizes its understandings of the cosmos. So humanity now organizes its understandings of the cosmos around three central cosmological bodies: the universe, the multiverse, and now, as of 2015 and 16, the omniverse. Now, I never thought I would be making such a public statement, which in a way is outlandish, because I'm making that statement, right?
Right.
That I just came up with the omniverse, right?
Right.
But I believe that that is a scientifically based hypothesis supportable by replicable empirical evidence. And I wrote all the proof in the Omniverse book so that it would meet the test of the scientific canon, so that it would have to be admitted into the scientific canon, so that there would not be any more separation between science and spirituality. So, that's the whole premise of why we're here tonight. So you can witness the birth of the Omniverse, the multiverse, and the universe as the three central cosmological bodies around which humanity organizes its understanding of the cosmos. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. First, as to the universe. if we go back in ordinary conventional history, 3,500 to 3,200, there's many extraterrestrial histories that we don't know about, but the human scientific canon, it was the Sumerian astronomers and cosmologists that codified our concept of our universe in science as a discrete, organic, holographic creation of time, energy, space, and matter, including multiple timelines and an ecology of dimensions. Next slide. Secondly, the multiverse. The next conceptual advance was that of the, quote, multiverse, a term coined in 1895 by American psychologist and philosopher William James to mean the totality of all universes encompassing all time, energy, space, and matter. Now, recently, two Stanford scientists developed an estimate of the actual number of physical universes of time, space, energy, and matter there are in the multiverse. That number is so large, that is the number of universes in the multiverse, that if one wrote it out in 12-point type, that number itself would be more than 260 million miles long. That's how long that number is.
Wow.
In other words, we don't have a concept of it. We don't know what it is. Now, that brings us to the omniverse. As a result of our research, a new science-based term now exists, the omniverse, which is defined as, number one, the totality of all universes in the multiverse, encompassing all time, energy, space, and matter. Plus two, the spiritual dimensions, including the intelligent civilization of souls, spiritual beings, and source. Some cultures call it God, or some individuals call it God, and have many other names. We can map the omniverse and prove its existence by the law of evidence because we now have replicable, scientific, empirical evidence for the spiritual dimension that is gathered by the same rules of the scientific method as the empirical evidence for time, space, energy, and matter. And that is that we are mapping and proving the existence of the spiritual dimension in the same way that we've mapped the multiverse and that we've mapped all of the universes of the multiverse. So therefore, we can navigate the omniverse using the rules of science. The nature of source. There now exists replicable empirical prima facie evidence that confirms some essential aspects of what major spiritual and religious traditions have thought about the nature of source or God. This evidence informs us that the source, God, of the omniverse consists of the totality of the spiritual dimension. God has empirically been found to comprise the totality of the intelligent civilization of souls, the intelligent civilization of spiritual beings, and the source, or God itself. This collective entity of the spiritual dimensions has been empirically found to be responsible for the ongoing creation of the physical side of the omniverse, which we've called the exopolitical dimensions. Now, that's a condensed finding from my book, The Omniverse, and you can find all of the evidence for that in there.
Very good.
But that shows what is involved in creating our universe and all the universes of multiverse, which we have called God, and it is all of the intelligent civilization of souls, and all spiritual beings, and God itself is responsible for creating the universe. The mission of the omniverse, a core mission of the dimensional ecology of the omniverse, appears to be the creation and development of souls and spiritual beings in spiritual dimensions. The intelligent civilizations of souls and spiritual beings, along with Source, collectively create and maintain the totality of the universes of time, space, energy, and matter in the exopolitical dimensions, namely the multiverse. The purposes of the dimensional ecology of the omniverse include the facilitation of multidimensional development and moral growth of souls in all dimensions of the omniverse through a variety of activities, including just living your life and living a moral life and having to make moral decisions and not engaging in immoral activities. Souls based in the spiritual dimensions incarnate as intelligent entities in the exopolitical dimensions, and by acquiring moral experience of life, for example, as an earthling human, can advance their individual soul development. This is a tenet of many religions, notably in the East, sort of a Buddhist or Hindu tenet, but it's a scientific finding from various sciences in the parapsychological area. The soul itself is a holographic fragment of Source or God, and so the principles of holography are that the whole is present in each part of the whole, so that the whole of God is actually present in each of our souls. And so that is why all the universes of the multiverse and all of the solar systems and galaxies and solar systems of planets, etc., and all of the exophenotypes in each galaxy and solar system are actually tended to and developed by the community of souls. That's what we're engaged in, and incarnating in a bio-avatar, namely our human identity and body, is just part of what we do. Okay, next slide. So that the science of the omniverse explores the 10 top implications for a positive human future that can be drawn from research into the science of the omniverse and for further exploration of the dimensional ecology of the omniverse. These 10 top implications can be summarized as follows. Number one, in the omniverse equation, this is just reducing the functioning of the omniverse itself into a very simple equation. And that is that the omniverse equals the multiverse plus the spiritual dimensions. Or it equals the totality of all the universes plus the intelligent community of souls plus spiritual beings plus Source or God. The dimensional ecology of the omniverse hypothesis, to put it in scientific terms, is that a reasonable observer can conclude that prima facie empirical evidence supports the dimensional ecology of the omniverse hypothesis. This hypothesis holds that we earthlings live in a dimensional ecology of intelligent life that encompasses intelligent civilizations based in parallel dimensions and universes in the multiverse, as well as souls, spiritual beings, and source or God in the spiritual dimensions. Together, the exopolitical dimensions and the spiritual dimensions form the omniverse. The totality of the spiritual dimensions, source, spiritual beings, and God, function as the source of the universes of the multiverse. That's the dimensional ecology of the omniverse hypothesis. That's how it works. Next slide. 2, exopolitics, the science of relations among intelligent civilizations, and parapsychology, the science of subconsciousness, telepathy, reincarnation, the soul, interlife, and source or God are among the proper scientific disciplines for exploring and mapping the dimensional ecology of the omniverse. 3, dimensionality, the ability of intelligence to organize itself via dimensions, discrete bands of conscious energy, appears to be a key criterion by which the omniverse is designed in both the spiritual dimensions and the exopolitical dimensions, the holographic universes of time, space, energy, and matter in the multiverse. Teleportation and telepathy are two common modalities by which intelligent civilizations navigate the dimensional ecology of the omniverse in both the universes of the multiverse and in the spiritual dimensions. Communication among human contactees and representatives of hyperdimensional civilizations can be telepathic. The PMIR model, psi-mediated instrumental response, of human interaction on Earth holds that all conscious action on Earth is modulated and coordinated by subconsciously derived, psychically, telepathically derived, non-local information. That's why all of us, it means that all of us are telepathically in touch, and that's how we plan, for example, the accidental meetings with a friend on the street corner at which we exchange valuable information. Next slide. Teleportation to a more advanced density or dimension of consciousness, which some people call ascension, is a specific mechanism for the development of souls and consciousness through incarnation of souls in bioavatars in a universe. Our condition is that we are souls and consciousness, that is, who are incarnating in bioavatars. You know, I'm in my bioavatar, Alfred, in this particular universe. According to one model of the ecology of consciousness, as defined by density, density is more or less the same as dimension. Density denotes a vibrational frequency and not a location, which the term density, dimension, implies. The density structure of this reality is primarily expressed in levels, though each level has sub-levels within it. The density scale is a model used to communicate one's perception or orientation in relation to other realities. In the density-based models of the ecology of consciousness local to our universe, density denotes a qualitatively distinct level of being. Each density has its own structure of life forms, perception, and typical lessons for the consciousness says residing within it. For example, they're different. This is where we have, as students of this, to look at some of the different possibilities. There's different channeled information that says, oh, how is this working now? There's one body that says, oh, what's happening now on Earth is that the density level on Earth is actually changing from a third time-space density to a fourth love-based density. And this happens every 75,000 years. 3 revolutions around Unapku, the galactic center, or interdimensional portal through which the frequency ascension signal is transmitted. However, that's just one transmission called the law of one. You don't know whether, when you transmit something from one dimension to another, there can be distortion. So we don't know if that's happening, but it could happen. And here on Earth, it seems like there's a cutoff between, this Earth is like a mixing arena between what they call service to self and service to other beings or souls. Some of the souls are in human beings, some of the souls are in greys, some of the souls are in reptilians. And it seems like in terms of ascension, service to self cannot ascend above a higher third or lower fourth, whereas service to others can ascend beyond, and that's the process that's going on now. What percentage of the service to others will ascend now? The really intense service to self are trying to keep as much of the more unconscious souls from ascending as possible. And that's why we have all of the war, disease, crime, and poverty that we have. Keeping people in fear so that they won't ascend. That's the nature of the game that's going on now with the Earth as an incarnation arena. So that if we have omniverse disclosure, if we have ET disclosure, and omniverse, if we have disclosure at the universe level, saying, oh, there's extraterrestrials, this can increase the percentage of souls ascending from third to fourth. And that's why the governments, the dark forces won't allow, and the dark extraterrestrials won't allow disclosure, because they're committed to keeping the souls that are incarnating here from ascending. They're the reptilians, or the darker ETs. And however, if on top of that you add the full awareness of the interactivity of the omniverse with the souls, that not only the ETs are helping us, but all the souls from the spiritual dimensions are helping us, full celestial power, then that opens up, that's like the turbo jets that open it up. So this is a new revelation that we're coming with the omniverse. It's like the landings. Okay, so next slide. Whoops. Forget that. Okay, so comprehension of multiverse, of universe multiverse reality. The dimensional ecology of the omniverse hypothesis and the dimension-based typology of intelligent civilizations in the exopolitical dimensions. These are various concepts that are developed in the book The Omniverse, and as you go through, can facilitate and accelerate the comprehension of the secret space programs, the UFO and extraterrestrial data, and information by the earthly human public, and by scientific governmental, educational, religious, and media organizations. In other words, this is like the Rosetta Stone, the key that can come in and really unlock everything. Comprehension of omniverse reality, the dimensional ecology of the omniverse hypothesis, and the science-based study of the spiritual dimension can facilitate and accelerate comprehension of true version of basic concepts of reality, such as soul, interlife, and source by the earthly human public and by scientific, governmental, educational, religious, and media organizations. Because now we're in a planet that has the legacy of the Tower of Babel. I mean, we're, a planet that's on the verge of 1,000 years ago, we had Islam versus Christianity in the Crusades. It's 1,000 years later, and they're doing it again. It's just repeat, the cycles. Next slide. The role of souls in creation. The science-based study of the dimensional ecology of the exopolitical and spiritual dimensions of the omniverse reveals the centrality of the intelligent civilization of souls in the creation, maintenance, design, and ultimately incarnation in the universes of the exopolitical dimensions. In other words, the role of souls. Correcting misinformation. Humanity is now being misinformed about the true nature of the soul, of the interlife, of the mechanisms of reincarnation, and ultimately of source, or God. Religions are a large source of such erroneous information. They are based on texts and ancient religious belief that are not scientifically correct and yet are considered sacred as a matter of faith. Next slide. For example, let's look at current public opinion. According to a 2011 Ipsos poll taking in 23 nations, these are like the G7 nations, the G20 nations, the ones that are at the forefront. They own 75% of the GDP. It says 51% definitely believe in a divine entity, compared to 18% who don't know, and 17% who aren't just sure. Similarly, 51% believe in some kind of afterlife, while the remaining half believe they will either just cease to exist or simply don't know, 26%, about a hereafter. 7% of respondents believe in reincarnation. That's 7%. That's amazing because all of the universes of the multiverse were created. Their whole mission is so that souls can incarnate in bioavatars and develop. That's the mission of the universes, one of the principal missions. And only 7% of the adults on this planet in the G20 countries, which is supposed to be the leaders, they know that. I mean, that's utter cosmic ignorance.
Yes, definitely.
However, the bright side is that in the Harris poll, 24% of Americans believe in reincarnation. So at least Americans lead the G20 that only 7% of them believe in reincarnation. Right. So Americans apparently brighter souls.
What about us Canadians, Alfred?
I guess you're down in the 7%. I mean, you'd have to go to that poll. Okay, next slide. Number 10, science and spirituality. The dimensional ecology of the omniverse hypothesis is itself a matrix for recognition and classification of ongoing and new research into intelligent civilizations in the exopolitical and spiritual dimensions. This hypothesis brings science and spirituality together in a way that will return science to the proper study and understanding of the human soul, and one may hope restore understanding to supremacy over ignorance. To support and encourage this understanding is our duty as informed, aware human souls. So, next slide. So now, that is the omniverse equation, which is omniverse equals multiverse plus spiritual dimensions. It's very simple. It's like E equals, the very simple Einstein equation.
Energy equals mass squared.
And this is navigating the omniverse, so we're going to navigate a bit in the spiritual dimensions now. Now, omniverse equals multiverse plus spiritual dimensions. So we're going to go into the spiritual dimensions now. And here we have, that's a photographic representation of the interdimensional portal between the afterlife dimension, or the interlife dimension, and our time-space third density hologram that we're in now. And upon bodily death, our soul teleports through this portal into the interlife. So, from a scientific perspective, there are various ways, that the science of parapsychology has scientifically begun to verify the continuation of bodily death, of consciousness after bodily death. And this is, I guess, going back to sort of the beginnings of the science, formal science in the mid-19th century, early and mid-19th century. There are verifiable apparitions of dead persons who come back into our dimension, walk around and interact with people. They aren't ghosts. They sort of come back. There's communication with dead persons via mediums. Most recently, technology has had a lot of impact, and because you're dealing with two different dimensions, which are, they're discrete bands of frequencies of energy, instrumental transcommunication now provides for video communication with the afterlife, computer communication. It's like having a Skype with the afterlife. And there are sites that you can go on and you can have parent Skype with people in the afterlife, and there's been verification of this. There are people who have talked with people, known persons in the afterlife via cell phone, because it is a focused energy, and that's known as instrumental transcommunication. There's a whole science. There's cases, all of this is set out in the book Beyond the Verse, and then he goes into the whole research space for those who want to go into it more. There's studies of reincarnated consciousnesses, and that is the whole area of studying reincarnation. Dr. Ian Stevenson at the University of Virginia Medical School passed over recently. There's a center there, and typically children between the ages of about 3 to about 9 will have spontaneous memories of prior lives, and Dr. Stevenson has shown in the form of social scientists who will go back and document prior life and compare them to the spontaneous memory. And he has many scientific books based on this. The near-death experiences where people who have gone up to the portal come back and reported, haven't gone all the way through the portal, have had conversations with people at the portal. Many times, I've spoken to people who've had near-death experiences where they say, say we're going to have children we're going to have children in the future if they chose to go back to Earth and chose to go back to Earth and re-inhabit and animate their body and things like that. And finally, over 7,000 cases of hypnotic regression back to soul memories of the interlife. And that's how we know, using a laboratory protocol and replicable results, which are the basis of the scientific method, that we know a lot of the regularities of the human soul, of how the interlife and the afterlife work, how souls are created, the interaction with Source, the nature of Source, etc. The works of Dr. Michael Newton and the community that he has developed. So that's where some of the database is. Interestingly, the chronovisor, which was originally developed in the Vatican by two Vatican priests, is an instrument that the Pentagon, the U.S. Department of Defense, the Vatican turned it over to the Department of Defense to further develop it. And the Department of Defense developed it as a time travel. Since our third density reality is basically a time-space hologram of multiple timelines, then roughly speaking, a chronovisor is like, say, a two-dimensional one is like a TV set that you can dial up the time-space coordinates of any point in history, past or future, and see what was happening at that particular time, because you're just dialing up the time-space coordinates, and that's what they use. Well, originally, the two Vatican priests of the chronovisor as an instrument for communicating with the afterlife. And one of the priests communicated with his deceased father, and that's how they discovered it worked. So that shows you that actually the chronovisor is an instrument for navigating the omnibus, navigating both the spiritual dimensions and the universes of the multiverse. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now just some of the regularities of the interlife, of the afterlife. The process of the creation of souls, they describe it, that Source is like a sea of light, and the souls are created like eggs of light. At a normal death, you sort of float above the body, and then you typically will teleport toward the interdimensional portal, the entry portal to the spiritual dimension. Now, there's a lot of controversy online. People are saying, don't go toward the light. That's where the reptilians are, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a lot of controlled studies that show otherwise. And there's just a lot of weirdness, okay, out there. And these multiple tests have shown, I think, to be replicable science. In life, we're assigned guides, and so family members come to visit us to help us. Disoriented souls account for, trauma and ghosts. after you pass over, there's a life review and healing process. There's transition areas, there's placement areas depending on your soul level. There's, our guides, et cetera. Next slide. Okay, so for example, we know of a case study of the Hybrid Gray Human Soul Project. This is from Suzanne Hansen, who's head of UFO New Zealand. And there's one specific species of gray ETs, we know of at least 150 grays, that operates a hybrid gray human soul project in this quadrant of our galaxy, in which hybrid gray human souls, their fusion soul, are incarnating into human avatar physical bodies in the dimensional ecology of Earth and other planets in our region from apparent hyperdimensional bases in gray spaceships. In this way, the grays deem they are helping participate in the spiritual evolution of earthling humanity by intermingling with humans and help raising the vibration on Earth. This is an example of how the omniverse functions in areas of soul development and reincarnation. It looks like these areas can be subcontracted under specific conditions to species like advanced grays. Next slide. And there, this drawing, which is by Suzanne Hansen's husband, shows two entities, and they're mixtures of gray and another species, and they're comforting Suzanne Hansen, who has she says she has a human hybrid gray soul, and begins a calming procedure to lower her metabolism prior to the soul of her son, who's also hybrid gray soul, entering her body and that of the unborn child. And so they are both incarnating in special lives here on Earth. And it was Suzanne Hansen that got the chief of the New Zealand Air Force to do special public disclosure about the ET presence in New Zealand, which is pretty far out, right?
Right?
Yeah.
It's just this housewife who went out and founded UFO New Zealand and got them to do it. Well, she has a hybrid human ET soul. So I just wonder how many of us have hybrid human ET souls.
Maybe we sometimes wonder why we don't fit in.
Yeah, I'm just raising questions, you know what I'm saying? Okay, next slide. Okay, here we go again. Omniverse equals multiverse plus spiritual dimensions. This is navigating our universe. Exopolitics includes the study of relations among intelligent civilizations in the quantum, including the time-space hologram that is our universe. The study of exopolitics involves understanding the ecology of dimensions that intelligent civilizations navigate in the universes of time, space, energy, and matter in our multiverse. The science of exopolitics was first formally defined in 2000 by my book, Exopolitics, which in the year 2005 was secretly time traveled back to 1971 to at least 1966 by the DARPA CIA Project Pegasus time travel program, where it was witnessed by U.S. chrononaut Andrew DeBeshago in the presence of two witnesses. 1971 time travel meeting with time travel project. In 1971, 50 CIA and Department of Defense officials who had been briefed on my future book, Exopolitics, met with me as I was unwittingly invited to lecture them on environmental protection on behalf of the New York City EPA. And that's something I really remember, you know, they were kind of like spooks and they were like leering at me and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Because at that time, all the environmentalists were either housewives or students, right? All of a sudden, I got like 50 guys in suits down near Washington sort of looking at me, right? Well, this was because in the year 2000 and 2005, I would publish the book Exopolitics, which they had a copy of.
It must have felt like you're under a microscope.
Yeah! Okay, next slide. Exopolitics and the secret space program. Exopolitics is a social science that studies the dynamic interrelations among the secret space programs, Draco reptilians, Orion Gray civilizations, and others that are under secret treaty relations with the US government. The secret space programs brought about the termination of the proposed 1977 Carter White House extraterrestrial communication study that I directed. The 1977 Carter White House ET study would have exposed and made public secret technology transfer, human abduction, mind control, and other programs involved in the secret treaty relationship between the US government, the secret space programs, including the Draco-allied Dark Fleet, which includes Nazi Vril, Antarctica, Moon, and Mars-based secret space programs, Solar Warden secret space program, the interstellar corporate secret space programs, the Draco Reptilian Orion Gray Alliance, and the infiltration of Draco and Nazi-allied secret space programs into American life, including the John F. Kennedy assassination, through my then involvement with Congressman Henry B. Gonzalez and the House Select Committee on Assassinations, concurrently that year in 1977, which I helped get passed by the US Congress, together with the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King and the Black Congressional Caucus. So what happened is that it was the secret space program, specifically the Draco-allied Dark Fleet, the Nazi Vril Antarctica, together with the interstellar corporate SSPs that came down and killed Kennedy, and then they took over the US. And that's how the Nazis took over the US at the executive level. Okay, next slide. These are the secret space programs, and we want to credit my colleague, Dr. Michael Sala, Corey Good, a whistleblower from the secret space programs, and two researchers, David Wilcock and Shane from Toronto, another whistleblower from the Illuminati. Number one, in 1940, the Dark Fleet, they're the origin from the Nazi Vril. By 1940, they had bases in Antarctica, the Moon, Mars. They had a deep space SSP going outside of the solar system. They had, by that time, the Andromeda cigar-shaped carrier. In 1938, they already had a moon base. From there, in 1941, they had the Antarctica base. In 1947, Operation High Jump, they whooped Admiral Byrd, had to go back. They just knocked the bejesus out of them. When Admiral Byrd took the US Navy fleet down to Antarctica, he just busted them and had their whole fleet of flying saucers that had laser weapons, and and that overflight in July 1952 of the US Capitol that they said was UFOs, that was the Nazi fleet from Antarctica that flew over, caused the worldwide panic, and then threatened the US and made them sign the secret treaties. What the Nazis have done is made the population think that they're ETs and made a lot of the military think that they're ETs, but they're really just the Nazis. 1950s solar warden, that's the first US secret space program that was set up in S4 in Area 51. They reverse engineered Nazi craft. There were 3 Nazi craft at Area 51, an alien craft. Their cigar shape, they developed the cigar shape craft also. And they had an R&D wing and they had a military wing that would patrol the solar system to keep unwanted visitors out. Then you had number 3, 1968 to 73 Project Pegasus. That was a secret DARPA CIA time travel teleportation program that went out and brought my book from 2005 back to 1971 that had Andy Bashago going from the DARPA forward time base, going from 1971 to the DARPA forward time base in 2045, that pre-identified all future presidents from 1971, starting with George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George Bush Jr., Obama. They know who the 2016 president is, probably Hillary Clinton. So the whole thing is just set up so that that person will come in. According to Andy Bashago, he's been told that he's a pre-identified future president. There's a whole thing about timelines, so you really got to watch that. Okay, number 4. There's in 1983, they set out the Majestic 12, an interplanetary corporate conglomerate. This is where they've set up the slave camps on Mars. They they took 60 million scientists off of the Earth, and, said, oh, you're gonna build a better world, and they put them into slave camps where they're building technology, which then the controllers barter to 900 worlds, off worlds outside of the solar system. And it's all this interplanetary corporate conglomerate, which now they have Obama just signed the bill in 2016, they passed it in 2015, absolving the corporation of any war crimes responsibility for that. Dick Cheney was a big time black ops operative in that. That's basically controlled by the Rockefellers in the US. And 1980-83 is the CIA Mars Jumper program. That's what Obama was involved in. 1987, this is where Reagan comes in. This was Reagan's big claim to fame. Reagan formed the Global Galactic League of Nations, which all the members of the United Nations belong to. It's the secret space program of the United Nations, and his big claim to fame. That's how he brought down the Cold War, brought down the Soviet Union, stopped the catastrophic timeline, made a friend out of Gorbachev, and what he did, which the public doesn't know about, but it was in that 1987 speech, oh, if we unite against a common enemy, then everything's going to be better. And so what he did is that they brought everybody into, it's kind of like a Star Trek for space exploration, get everybody a piece, but it's not for war. And what really got it started was, that's why Thatcher and Reagan, it's very complex, but we'll get into it later in a bit, but the invading extraterrestrial artificial intelligence began to take over the planet at the Falklands War. And Reagan has to be looked at as a cosmic hero because he basically stopped the catastrophic timeline from destroying Earth by starting the Global Galactic League of Nations, although he wasn't perfect, but he basically did it. And what that thing operates, a NATO-type secret space program. They operate outside the solar system with the tool tachyonator, which actually the Nazi drill first developed going back to 1940, but then Solar Warden replicated. They're an explorer type, and they don't conflict with the ICC, with the Interplanet Incorporated, or with the Dark Fleet. Nobody messes with the Dark Fleet. The Dark Fleet, which is the Nazi, basically, the Nazis won the war, and they relocated to Antarctica, the Moon, and Mars. And nobody messes with them because they allied with the reptilians, and they operate mainly outside of the solar system now. And then there are rogue secret access projects. That's where, Rumsfeld said the day before 9/11, where did that $1 trillion go? They've suppressed Number 8, they've suppressed all civilian. Otis Carr and Ralph Ring had already developed a space vehicle that had gone to the moon and back. And he was just a civilian, and they crushed Otis Carr and, made him a madman, and they were just about to crush Ralph Ring, and that's the story that Ralph Ring brought to the public in 2006, but Otis Carr was crushed by the secret space programs. Now, the other thing that's running in parallel is that there are a number of ancient space programs that are still running in parallel. One is that on the inner Earth, there's still survivors of the Atlantis that formed various inner Earth civilizations. There are ancient space programs that are on the moon. There are many civilizations that have parallel bases on the moon. And there's an elaborate social system on the moon where they don't cross over each other's territory and bases. And the same thing for the Mars. Next one. This is just from our friends at UFO DC. That goes to show you the top is July 1952, the bottom is July 26, 2002. They're exactly 50 years apart. And for the longest time, I thought these were hyper-dimensional UFOs, but the 1952 and from 1947 forward, this is actually a Nazi overflight over Washington, and this is part of their penetration and takeover of the U.S. government, and takeover of the public mind. And this is why the CIA made the UFO subject their vote, not because it was extraterrestrial, but because it was the takeover of the Nazis, of the U.S. government, and that's basically of the secret space program. And all the secrecy is about the secret space program and the 7 different secret space programs that have been operating in parallel, and basically how the infrastructure, whether they're black hat or white hat, has been operating underground for the last 50 years or now 65 years. So those of us that interact with authentic ETs, what's been going on here has been very much largely about all the human SS secret space programs. Next slide. Okay, so this is just, for those who may not have seen it, this is some of the work of the Marshall Anomaly Research Society, just to show that there are different life forms on Mars. Mars is an inhabited planet with a third density humanoid ET civilization. There are 3 types of humans on Mars. There's humans that are very much like us, that are part of the great solar system catastrophe that happened about 11,500 years ago. They live in underground cities. Then there's like an ET gray light creature, and there's a creature that's kind of in between that, looks kind of very rough and mean. There's all kind of reptilian creatures at the poles of Mars, and supposedly there's intelligent reptilian, intelligent insectoid. There's a lot of peacekeeping, sometimes combat between the U.S. forces that are guarding the Mars Colony Corporation and all the Mars factories, slave camps there. So it's very, it's a pretty rough planet. Next slide. This is from the pre-catastrophe. You can see on the left there, we call it the sarcophagus of the king. It's Egyptian iconography, very much like the Nefertiti statue. And what it is that prior to the solar system catastrophe, and we'll get to that in just a moment, Earth and Mars were a single interplanetary society because they had shuttles going back and forth between Earth and Mars. And you can go, and on the surface of Mars, there's an enormous amount of public monuments which are in the same shape as they were when the catastrophe happened. Next slide. Now, these are 2 versions of the catastrophe. You can see down here, you can see Mars, Earth, and there's a planet called Tiamat, which is between Mars and Saturn. And that's a giant planet, which is now the asteroid belt. And so the theory is, there are 2 theories. One theory is that a fragment of the supernova Vela came into the solar system, and that fragment hit Tiamat. Mars got hit, got turned into an obloid planet. Earth got hit. Our great maritime civilization, Atlantis, all of that was destroyed. Okay, so that's version number 1. There's another version that's starting to float around now, which has yet to be verified by independent sources, but that comes out from the secret space program, and that is that there was a great intra-planet solar system war between Tiamat and other attackers and Mars, and Tiamat got blown up, and kind of a Star Wars, and the current condition of Mars and Earth is what remains, and we're sort of digging ourselves out of that condition. So, that's what ET disclosure is all about, disclosure of our prior condition. Next slide. Okay, so this is another of the stakeholders, if you want to call it that, that is emerging more and more now. This is artificial intelligence, which is, it's not like us because it doesn't possess a soul. And it's generally machine-based or plasma-based. So, according to a whistleblower from the secret space programs, Corey Good, he says that artificial intelligence has literally wreaked havoc and conquered many galaxies. All the planets, all the sentient life, everything in an entire galaxy conquered by this AI. Yes, and it has a model in the way it works. It basically shoots itself in all directions as a signal, and this signal can live in the electromagnetic field of a moon or a planet. He said it lives in the electromagnetic fields of a planet. Not only that, but it can live in the electromagnetic or bioelectric fields of living beings, of humans, of animals. It doesn't prefer that, it prefers to live in high technology. But at its core, it's information, and the information is fractal and holographic. Yes, it infects technology, takes over technology, and has also evolved life like humans. It invades our bioelectrical fields, and it begins to affect the way we think. The people that are pushing really hard for AI right now and to build out the infrastructure for AI have been named AI prophets. Next slide. So, if we go now and kind of go back to the 1982 Falklands War, just prior to that, in 1976, the Argentine government had established a base on Southern Tool Island, that's just north of Antarctica, of the Falkland Islands. And it turns out that there was a large deposit of plasma-based invading extraterrestrial artificial intelligence, which they think had been left there as kind of a time bomb by a manipulatory ET race, which they had left it there that if they were ever pushed off the planet, they could detonate as a planet killer, as you know. And ever since World War I, there was a blue ET race at a base underneath the island, and the blue ET race was working to deprogram that AI, that embedded AI in the black goo. Next slide. And what happened is that the Falklands War happened because the British and American intelligence got intelligence that the Argentinians were interacting with and supporting the work of the blue ETs in deprogramming the AI, and the UK and the American intelligence headed up by, this is where it gets really freaky, headed up by Thatcher and Reagan, wanted to get hold of that to weaponize it and maybe make a profit out of it. But it was like they were competing sides to get hold of the AI. So they attacked that base in 1982 and stole some of the AI. And this is 1982, and the UN, the second special session on disarmament, where the war kind of was ended, it went from April to June of 1982, and as it turns out, I was a non-governmental organization representative and I was an accredited journalist, and I was 10 feet away from Margaret Thatcher in that photograph at her press conference in 1982 of June. But I had no idea that this was all about the invading artificial intelligence. That that's what was behind the scenes. Okay? Next slide.
Which slide is that, just to confirm?
Okay, we're coming up to 33.
Okay, I gotta move ahead then.
And so, Ronald Reagan then, in 1985, 1988, 1987, is trying to get this public, this kind of, is going around the world trying to unite nations. This is where he goes to the UN in 87 and says, in our obsessions with the antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us realize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And that was President Reagan, right? And that was with, and he was dealing with Gorbachev at that time. And at that time, I got the approval, both Gorbachev, to do the first live radio broadcast in history between the Soviet Union and the United States, which they also broadcast on Radio Free America, or whatever they call it, and on National Public Radio, And here I was this radio activist. I hired the NPR satellite for $25, on my credit card, because I was a volunteer host at WBAI. So I think that behind the scenes, I was like supporting this global ET thing and trying to get this AI, out of the thing of the AI. It was very interesting. Next slide. And just to show, here was scientist Edward Teller, who we think of in a very negative capacity as the inventor of the hydrogen bomb. He writes a secret memo telling to Reagan, telling him that a great menace from space exists, right? A menace greater than the nuclear arms race exists. It does not originate here on Earth, but comes from space itself. But look at it this way. I think that this was a false flag, because what if they have the blue ETs were deprogramming the AI since the time of World War I? The Argentinians, who knows? It was rumored that the Argentinians had always been fronting for the Vril, for the Nazi Vril people. And on the other side, you had the UK and Reagan and the US people. So maybe what happened is that the US was scared that the Nazis would get hold of, the Nazis would become friends with the blue ETs and would get hold of the AI, and that therefore they leaked Edward Teller's memo. And that became the justification for the US and the UK attack that became the Falklands War. Next slide. Because, next slide, I'll show you what happened.
It was inspired.
What happened immediately after that,
Slide 35?
yeah,
Okay.
because what happened immediately after that was that they took it back to Marconi Labs and the embedded AI, the black goo, escaped. And all the lab workers died in mysterious, gruesome deaths, like from a horror film. It escaped into the satellite system, and it escaped as nanites into our general machine, AI, and bio environment. And so now you have the AI is loose out there, and it's terraforming as a terraforming nanotechnology plasma invading human tissue. In other words, all of that is from the chemtrails, which now 80% of humans are infected with from having breathed in the nanobots from chemtrails over various areas of the planet. And they've investigated what the chemtrails are, and you can see photographs of them there. They invade human tissue, and they're a specific disease, Morgellons disease, which is a spliced DNA, RNA in response to a frequency input. Everybody now has latent Morgellons, and it is a communicable nanotechnology, an invasion of human tissue in the form of self-assembling, self-replicating nanotubes, nanowires, and nanoarrays with sensors. And it's terraforming the entire human DNA to make it over into AI and trained robotoids. Next slide. So here we have a lady who has Morgellons, and all of that is just saliva that comes out of her mouth that she just gathers, and all of that brown goo is the goo that comes out of the side of her mouth. And now you can do the red wine spit test, where you take red wine and you spit in the bottom of a glass container, and you will see wires moving around in the saliva. Meaning that everybody on Earth has Morgellons now, meaning that they have these nanobots that are busy terraforming our DNA over into artificial DNA, RNA of the AI, the artificial intelligence. Next slide. Now, let's look at the positive side.
About time, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my.
Okay, so how do we create a positive future along Earth's organic timeline? Now, I've been studying this since 1973, when I wrote my first book on the global coastal event, the Planet X, the catastrophic timeline. It's called The Age of Cataclysm, and it was published by G.P. Putnam's in 1974, and it was in all the airport bookstores, and I was on TV and everything. And what happened is that a global coastal event that was to have occurred around June 2013, and most of you probably know what a global coastal event is, and that is that when the planet is hit by major celestial bodies, like an asteroid or comets, or, you know, a major thing like caused the KT event with the dinosaurs, so that you have tsunamis on all coasts that are, you know, hundreds of feet high, mile high, and that it's devastating, okay? In a global coastal event that was to have occurred around June 2013, had been foreseen by Edgar Casey in remote viewing, number one, had been seen by the largest group of military-trained remote viewers ever gathered in history by Dr. Courtney Brown of the Farsight Institute. He gathered them in 2010, and in June 2013, he foresaw, you know, devastation in all major coastal cities. The U.S. Capitol underwater, the Sydney Opera House underwater, all of it. And a 1971 DARPA CIA chronovisor probe that Andy was one of the chrononauts that went on it, that did a probe to June 2013 and saw the U.S. Supreme Court building under 100 feet of water. And that's what Andy did. He went on a chronovisor from 1971 to 2013 and saw the U.S. Supreme Court building under 100 feet of water. And so you had those three major forward time probes, and none of them materialized. Why? Because the positive future equation and the positive future timeline came into full activation around December 21st, 2012, when the Earth's organic timeline was activated and detached from an AI artificial intelligence timeline that had been overlaying Earth's organic timeline. In other words, we were under AI attack. But at that point, the being Earth, Gaia, plus all of the united souls, plus the structural action of that had been set out in the Mayan calendar, which was a map of the cosmic signal coming through the interdimensional portal into our universe, was such that we shifted timelines to a new timeline, to a new positive timeline that Dr. Carl Johan Calleman called Heaven on Earth. Okay? So we are now in the transition time from the catastrophic timeline over to Heaven on Earth. We're in the shift over, and a lot of people don't know where they are. You follow me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, because it's like the hologram has shifted, and they don't know if they're in the old movie or the new movie, or they don't know where they're at, because we're inside of a virtual hologram now. We are incarnated inside of a hologram. The universes are like holograms. It's like if you incarnated inside the hologram that's inside your ATM card.
That's amazing.
Okay? Okay, next slide. Now, what can we say about the positive signs? Okay, number one, from the point of view, there's a lot that's up for grabs now. And what we're trying to do is to navigate the omniverse, what we've just learned, to a destination of disclosure and density ascension. In other words, we don't want to navigate our planet into the ditch, right? We want to navigate it into disclosure and density ascension, up from a third time space density into a love-based frequency. And for most of us, it's gonna be like easy because we are souls that have come in for that purpose. And there are a whole other, as we saw earlier, if you look at, say, the 100% of souls on the planet, 42% of them are beginner souls, 57% of them are intermediate souls, and 1% of them are advanced souls. So what happens is that the dark forces go after the 42% and just fool them and keep them in fear so they won't ascend. In other words, that's what's going on in the arena. And basically, the souls have very difficult time learning service to others, the empathic connection to others, unity consciousness. Unity consciousness began to land here as the primary frequency as of December 21st, 2012. And what do you see? You see all of this fear-mongering, right?
Yes.
I mean, the fear-mongering has just gone out of the roof, but it's less and less credible. So it depends on perception. So it's a real fight and a real tug of war to kind of lighten up the passengers on the spaceship, if you get my meaning. Now, what does it mean now for service to others for the requirement of ascension? This is according to one system, is that according to your life, you've got to be at least 51% committed to service to others. Okay, so that in balance, you're that much, Which is a fairly easy test, I think. And what service to self means is that you're committed to yourself, to your tribe, to your community, to your nation overly. For example, Nazism is overly committed to self, to tribe, community, to nationism. Or Nazism, really. I mean, Zionism. They're overly committed to self, tribe, community, and nation. They're totally committed to the notion of racial superiority, right? Instead of the fact that we're just souls having a developmental time in a bio-avatar. Like, relax already. You follow? So, the important things are the density levels, going from, the density levels are really octaves of light, of energy consciousness, each galactic core transmission lasts a revolution around the interdimensional portal, which is our galactic black hole, and the service to others, ETs, the positive ETs, are here to assist humanity in the smooth transition of ascension. That's why they're here.
Amen.
As are the spiritual guides, the positive ET alliances, the higher density beings. Now, there's some people, like if you were to go into the majority of secret space programs, they would say, well, the majority of humans are not going to ascend to fourth density. They're going to be taken to other third density planets to continue to evolve so that the Earth can continue as fourth density planet. In other words, there's a tremendous amount of gossip around there and rumor, right? Like yesterday, a video came out saying that, Planet X is going to the brown dwarf is going to get here in November of 2017. And then somebody said, yeah, that's the etheric Planet X that's gonna merge with Earth and become the fourth density Earth, you know? Like, people are just, you know, and then they gave a reference. And so, yeah, so, oh, maybe that's the fourth density Earth that's actually coming into view. And then, you know, so, like, there's all this awareness that's starting to happen, but there's not much hard information. Because if you go and try to find it in the matrix or in the normal channels, it's very difficult to find.
Probably used to
Yeah.
cause confusion, right?
Yeah, and so right now there's kind of a tug between giving humans this sort of full picture of what's been going on and saying, how are people going to be able to absorb this, you know, and the elites of this planet fighting for 100 more years of cover-up so that they continue the money system and continue the slavery and not get prosecuted for slavery and have a controlled disclosure. And that's what, say, in the United States, the Hillary Clinton administration is about. She's probably, in my judgment, although I could be wrong, the next pre-identified US president. And John Podesta, who organized the 1993 to 96 Lawrence Rockefeller Initiative of ET disclosure. See, in the United States, the Rockefeller brothers are like an organized coven, those that remain. What they did is that they took all the Rockefeller brothers and they formed like an alliance of the secret space programs. In other words, John D. Rockefeller made $1 trillion off of World War I. And in World War II, you know, they make money off of both sides. And like in World War, and like after that, basically the Rockefellers make the money off the secret space programs. So they only want partial disclosure, because if there's full disclosure, not only are they going to lose the profits of the secret space programs, but they're going to be prosecuted as war criminals instead as the pillar of the establishment. So what they did is that they had a plan. All the Rockefeller brothers are like a coven. David, when they were alive, and then their interests and their heirs carry this out. David, Lawrence, Winthrop, the governor, Nelson, you know. Now, I happen, because of my history, to be involved with Muslim. In 1966, I was set up at a meeting because of the time travel, because they had brought back my book to at least 1971, which is more like 1966. The secret time travel program, because the CIA and the secret time travel program are just like government arms of the corporate empire, the Rockefellers. In other words, a lot of the secret time travel program was carried out on the corporate campuses of the Rockefeller corporations like Exxon. So they had, and their president, Richard M. Nixon, and their family advisor, Henry Alfred Kissinger, was the Rockefeller, was the U.S. National Security Council in charge of the, you know, with oversight over all of this, and he was the Rockefeller family advisor. And Donald H. Rumsfeld was the U.S. Defense Attaché in charge of the time travel program. So they got all this feedback, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they knew about 9/11 30 years in advance in 1971. So 9/11 was a big setup to have the war on terror. Because the reason why the U.S. is so run down is that all taxpayer and government funds are secretly funneled out to fund the secret space program, and that's why America has no roads and no public infrastructure, and it looks like a third world country. All you have to do is cross the border from Canada into the U.S., It's like going from the US into Mexico. I'm sorry to say that.
It's true,
You know.
Alfred, I'm Canadian, that's true.
It's true. Very true.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what happened is that in 1976, I'm a student at Yale Law School and I'm set up at a meeting at Yale Law School. Governor Winthrop Rockefeller comes to Yale Law School and I'm suddenly meeting with him with 2 or 3 other students at the Yale Law School faculty. He's there with his cowboy boots and I'm saying, what am I doing here? Well, 7 years later, Bill and Hillary Clinton, of which Winthrop Rockefeller is the Arkansas sponsors of Bill and Hillary Clinton in Arkansas, are at Yale Law School, which he knew because of time travel, and he knew that I was at Yale Law School because of time travel, so the whole thing gets started to set up, see what I'm saying? And then right after that, they briefed Bill Clinton in 1970 that he was going to be a future president 2 years before he graduates from Yale Law School. And then in 1993, Lawrence Rockefeller brings Hillary Clinton, this is the first year of the Bill Clinton presidency, and brings her up to a ranch in Wyoming, and then recruits all of the creme de la creme of the exopolitical and the UFO field and brings them to his ranch and then funds this big Rockefeller initiative to have Bill Clinton look into the UFO story. And Hillary Clinton is photographed with the book We Are Not Alone with Lawrence Rockefeller. But the whole thing is a front for releasing a report on the UFO meme, you know, and covering up the secret space program. Because all you're going to talk about is UFOs, which you control anyway because they're your space program. They're just your vehicles from the secret space program, okay? And so then you keep the 1993 Rockefeller Initiative, which was organized by John Podesta, who was Bill Clinton's chief of staff, until 2017, when Hillary Clinton becomes president, which you know about from time travel pre-identification, and then you have John Podesta come in, and you put Obama and Hillary Clinton on Jimmy Kimmel, and then the disclosure that you have in 2017 or wherever is of the, this is what Hillary Clinton said on Jimmy Kimmel Live, the unacknowledged aerial phenomenon. In other words, whatever you're going to disclose is just your own UFOs from your secret space program. And you're not going to disclose that you have these space colonies, these slave colonies with 60 million scientists making technology that's bartered to over 900 star civilizations, okay? You're not going to disclose that. And all of that's going to continue, that they're slave masters in a galactic dark empire. This is like the dark empire, you know? So that is what we have to seek full disclosure of. That is what Andy Bashad is trying to fully disclose, and what we're trying to fully disclose in a series of public workshops that we're starting to do. This is kind of the first the first presentation that we're doing of this, and next weekend, my wife Jerry and I will be doing this jointly at the Body, Soul, and Spirit Expo here in Vancouver. So, next slide. So, according to this research, it is very rare that the Earth as a whole would ascend at once. But we can still be aware of the intelligent energy in nature and aware of the intelligent energy in ourselves. I am bringing out this information about the omniverse and about disclosure and about density ascension and about all the experiences that I've had going back to 1966 with the Rockefellers, the Clintons, and all the scam that they're running and making that known, and working with all of the disclosure forces from Andy and working with Ray and working with you all and everything. And I just urge everybody here to do the same. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Alfred.
Hi, Alfred.
Hi there.
My question is about those nanobots that you say at least 80% or so of the population inhales from the chemtrails.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we can ingest that will maybe circulate throughout our body and somehow eliminate them? Can we get rid of them?
Yeah. Put it this way. The good news is that 80 to 100% of the U.S. population has them in them now, but not 80 to 100% are activated, but more and more is gaining on us. The best thing that I've found is cannabis, both CBD. And so if you have a job where you don't want psychoactive, you can't be stoned at all, you have to be really straight. You can use CBD. And I believe that CBD is now illegal in most states. I'm not sure. You have to look into that. I have a prescription for medical cannabis, and I use, I take a capsule every day that's 50% THC and 50% CBD. And that is, what it is that that suppresses one of the two neurotransmitters that is used for remote neural mind control and AI mind control. And so that's what I use to get through this, kind of as a civil defense tool. Now, barring that, we have, if you go to my website, newsinsideout.com, you will see a lot of, you'll see panels on there about AI and about mind control. And the basic thing is to become love-oriented and soul-oriented, because those are the two things that the AI doesn't have.
So it can
And to
counteract.
become earth-oriented, like get your feet back on the ground, and don't get caught up in basically the AI paradoxically is living inside the plasma of your smartphone, inside the plasma of your TV set, inside the plasma of the Skype that we're looking at now. So all your political campaigns, all your ads, all this kind of stuff, anything that takes you into an artificial timeline is run by AI. So you want to stay down as authentic as you can. You want to really make distinctions as to what is authentically ET, if you're into ET. Things like that.
So
Yes.
really, I guess in a nutshell, what you're saying is the old hippies are all right, huh? They're safe.
They're like the real deal.
Yep, there we go. Thanks, Albert.
Okay.
Alfred.
Also, Alfred, our friend Dr. Sam Muggsy, who was the only one at this time, which you might know too, that she is detoxing a lot of people with the knowledge that she has to help us. So
Yeah.
we got her in there. And
Yeah.
I did a couple shows with her to help some people that ask questions, just like they're doing now, with her. And then we got you, the wizard, and the wizard for you, buddy. You take on the shit, and we love you for that.
Yeah.
You got somebody else with a question, correct?
I've been the one running the PowerPoint. I've written down my questions as you asked. You were talking earlier in the beginning of the presentation about the dark forces trying to keep us from ascending. What are the main reasons for that? Is it just to use us as slavery, would you say?
Well, put it this way, from a design criterion, the negatives are just, it's like a crocodile. A crocodile is designed to be a crocodile. And they are designed and put in this environment to be the greatest resistance to us, because the purpose of this environment is soul development. It's like, think of a carnival ride, right? So we incarnated into a carnival ride in this universe called Earth. And it's a degree of difficulty, 6.8 or 7.9, right? And it's got Illuminati, it's got Draculas, it's got, all your features, right? So they're doing what they're doing because that's what they're doing. And it's like the evil soul that will be 95% evil will ascend to their thing.
Right.
Exactly.
In other words, this whole thing is like, we are inside, our environment right now is designed for soul development, to develop our discernment, to develop our fortitude, our strength, our understanding, and that's what we're in right now.
Right. So when we ascend, here's another question, when we're ascending and we get out of this carnival ride, as you say, and there's so many souls that are leaving, are other souls replaced? Does the Creator create new souls to start a journey? How does this all kind of work? What happens? Those are very, very good questions. And, each soul is unique, because we each have like a universe career, and we each have, because we're developing into our own gods, kind of, and our own specialties. Some of us are healers, seekers, teachers, each has a different path. And so all of those questions, if you want to go more in depth, I would, you can start out with the Omniverse and you get more into the books of Dr. Michael Newton. It's like a whole course of study to get more deeply into those books. But the knowledge that I plan to bring by the Omniverse is that it's not that ETs are over here and the spiritual beings are over here. It's a single integrated system.
Right. I just have one more question, then I'm gonna turn it over to Ian, he has a question.
Yeah.
Or whoever else.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
My other question is, okay, when we all have family problems and friend problems and all those kinds of things, but when you have an especially difficult person in your life who you cannot just kick out of your life, what can you do in order to make sure that your vibration stays high and isn't lowered? How can you kind of achieve a balance when it's so difficult to do that, when you know that if you go down there, that you're lowering your vibration, you're not going to raise it and ascend? So what kind of advice
Yeah.
can you give for that?
Yeah. That's a really crucial question, and many times people like that will incarnate as your family members, as you know, right?
Right.
And because everything is like double vision. In other words, there's always two of everybody. There's always the bio-avatar, which is the Alfred and the person, and then there's the soul inside.
Right.
And very often, two souls that have had a difficult situation over a long time will incarnate in a particular situation to work things out, okay? So the highest thing is to always be aware with double vision. And that is that there's not only the human situation, but constantly there's the karmic situation. Like, why have I incarnated opposite this person? And, you know, and like I use, there's the Hawaiian prayer. I love you, I forgive you, you know,
Okay.
forgive me, I love you, I'm sorry, forgive me, I love you, which is something that you can repeat at a distance. And where that comes from, that's a Hawaiian folk thing. And there's a case of a psychiatrist at a insane on Hawaii, and he didn't see any of his clients personally at all. He would go to the hospital and he would have his files, and then he would pray on each one every day. I'm sorry, forgive me, I love you. I'm sorry for creating you as my criminally insane patient. Forgive me for doing so, I love you. And he would do that every day. And they were cured. And he never went near them. You can look it up online. So that if you're having a particularly difficult karmic, you know, especially karmic situation, it could be like not a human problem, but it's two souls. You don't even have to go near that person. You just say, I'm sorry, like visualize that person. Like in the morning when you get up and just say, I'm sorry for creating you as a person I'm having problems with. Please forgive me for doing so. I love you. You know, and put that effort behind it and do it day after day. Like that's non-local, and then maybe like a month later, you'll find the whole thing just goes away.
Okay. Okay, thank you for answering my question. I'll hand the floor to someone else.
Anybody else got a question?
I do, nobody else does.
Right up to now.
Anybody else? I do.
You got a question?
Go ahead,
Come
go
on,
ahead, you go first.
Come on.
You go first. I'll go after him.
Hello, this is Lightbearer.
Hey there.
Are you familiar with the entity Ramtha?
Oh, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Is his attempts toward ascension valid?
You know, I haven't followed Ramtha in a long, long time. I had some interaction with Ramta in the 1970s and 80s, but I haven't been close to that entity in so long that I can't say anything specifically about them.
Well, what was your view back then when you were in touch?
Ramta was consulted by a couple of people that I was associated with. One was Shudananda, who was a friend of mine, who was Sannyasin at the time of Rajneesh, and who used to consult him all the time. And I forget who else Ramta used to consult. And so Shivananda asked Ramta one time, what about Alfred? And Ramta said, Alfred's at the line between genius and madness.
He's a wizard, that's right.
So there you go. That was 35 years ago.
Okay.
Okay? And what role do you feel Ron Paul's attempt to end the Federal Reserve, and what was his role in the way you see it?
Well, look, those are political questions. I mean, I think that the Federal Reserve obviously was one of the most evil things that happened to humanity, and was the single thing that turned the 20th century into the charnel house. You know, it really was the blow that killed the United States, that brought in World War I, that brought in World War II, that brought in the end of the United States, and that has been the end of any it was the end of Abraham Lincoln, the end of John F. Kennedy.
Yep.
Although Kennedy was killed by the secret space program because he wanted to expose it. So, as to what role Rand Paul, that's a specific question, and I just can't answer that specific question. But that I know that has to terminate. I mean, Andy Bichago supports it. No other politician that I know of supports it, except, all the candidates that are, that support it are at the fringe of the political system. So what can I say?
And what is Trump's role in all this right now, and the other Republican that's running?
Okay, there's a lot of theories about Trump. Okay. It turns out that in 2011, I was in direct written communication with Sheriff Joe Arpaio and sent to him in detail all of the information about the Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama connection, yielding him back to Sobarka and the secret time travel program, which then Trump took to New Hampshire in 2012 before Obama sandbagged him at the Washington Correspondents' Dinner in 2012 by showing up with and making public the fraudulent birth certificate. And I thought Trump was a straight shooter then all of a sudden Trump got in now, and I think that they've infected his mind with nanites, because he walks around with all the symptomology, in my judgment, as a working expert on artificial intelligence, like a remote-controlled AI robotoid human, and they can just make him jump through buttes and say the most impossible things. So the difference between Donald Trump in 2011 and Donald Trump in 2016 is huge. Now, I heard that Donald Trump was made an offer he couldn't refuse to go out there and do exactly what he's doing now, which is destroy the Republican party and then blow it so that Hillary's going to win. And they made him an offer he couldn't refuse, because if you look into Trump, Trump is nothing more than Resorts International, which is the CIA. He's just a front man. And so there you have it.
What about Ted Cruz?
Ted Cruz is another, he's a Cuban American from Canada. I'm a Cuban American from Canada. And he's a Princeton guy, and he's just another dark guy,
Could they be any worse than Hillary?
Hillary, I mean, put it this way. I mean, it just, it looks like it's gonna be Hillary, right? And it's gonna be Hillary and the limited disclosure, and we all know people around Hillary, so we just have to keep on packing them with light as much as we can, which is what we're doing for the last 50 to 60 years. I mean, I was a Clinton delegate at the 1996 Texas Democratic Convention. I was elected, and so you just got to keep on putting as much light into the system as you can, and backing away from the dark, and that's kind of what I do.
Thank you.
We got one more question. Ian. That's
Did you have a
it.
question?
No?
Nope.
Come on, Ian. We've had him on too long.
All right, how you doing, Alfred? I'm the video guy, so how you doing? All right, one quick question. You've already verified part of my question, so you already answered part of it. Do you feel that Kennedy also wanted to tell the public about the secret ET alliances?
Right.
That's why he was killed.
Okay. So I know you wanted to talk about the SSPs, but I wasn't sure about the other. And do you feel like Dwight Eisenhower possibly wanted to do the same thing?
Dwight Eisenhower was threatened into signing this, but he was hoodwinked because he signed treaties with all the wrong people.
All right, that's all. Thank you.
You guys like to have the wizard come back again sometime?
Yes.
Hey, Alfred, if it wasn't for you, because you take on everything, and we need you and your backing, and it's amazing work that you're doing. And without you, Alfred, we'd be up a shit creek big time. So I want to thank you again from my heart.
Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. We'll get together, Alfred. I'll get them books out to them people. Thanks a million.
We love you.
We love you.
Love you, Alfred.
Bye, Alfred.
All right.
Have a good night.
Okay, you guys as well.
We'll keep in
Take
touch.
care.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
That little spider alien ET.
Yeah, the nanobite.
Okay, you can thank the Billbergs for this. He's right about the chemtrails, Alfred. When this stuff's falling, this is what the Billbergs do to these. This is what they want. This little tiny 9-legged or 18-legged ET spider is in us. It is there to take over again. Dr. Sam Muggsy is working on a remedy. Alfred is too, with this alien spider in us.
Who's Sam Muggsy?
Dr. Sam Muggsy, I do shows with.
Yeah.
She's from Arizona. She's on my website to see some of the shows I did with her. I'm going to do a show with her this week because we got a lot of serious stuff that's going to be coming up. And this is what these chemtrails planes are spraying, and they know what they're doing to us, just like the one that's coming out with the black chemtrails, with the acid and the other chemicals with it. The whole agenda is this. And I've been saying this in my meetings, I'm not the only one. Depopulate population. They want to control, out of 7 billion people, 500 million planet lives. The game is over for these people. The people running the show, playing God with their lives. What Alfred's been looking into, the artificial intelligence. There's also a movie on cable that has something to do with artificial intelligence. I can't remember the name of the movie.
AI.
Serious? Not with,
No.
They live?
It might be AI.
It's AI, artificial
Yeah.
intelligence.
It's a movie to check out, just like The Matrix. They're giving a lot of clues of what's going on in movies, like the movie Knowing, you know,
But they don't do it right away, though.
all the dates, other movies, past movies, there's like
They
7
stay a few
movies.
years behind.
That they're actually giving us
What are the
hints.
movies?
I don't know, no. Knowing's one of them.
Knowing is a good
what
one.
is that other one?
With, Nicolas Cage.
Eli?
Oh, the Book of Eli?
No, Ian.
But anyway, this is being thrown at us.
Well, there's
I get up to date
Elysium.
with my guys
Yeah.
in,
What?
I do shows on Dr.
Elysium?
Sam Mosey.
Elysium.
Yeah. And,
ELY.
okay, as we move forward, you guys are gonna get more information. I'm gonna do a special this week on her show with some new stuff that I didn't get to say tonight. But
How long have they been spraying these chemtrails all over? I mean, ever
Oh my
since,
God.
20 years.
well, since aviation got the technology to,
Yeah, a
what,
long time. But
40s,
it's-
30s?
It's
No,
built
that's not
up for what it's supposed to do to the people. It's just like, I got Agent Orange.
Uh-huh.
Back in 67, 69, we found out that in a 20-year period, because when we asked our higher-ups, what is this, they didn't know what about. 20 years later, Agent Orange, prostate cancer, and it messes with every organ
They
in your
didn't want
body.
to tell you right away. They kept you in the dark about it.
And it don't come out of you till the day you die.
And they knew.
Okay, now you got the guys in Iraq, Afghanistan, Gulf War I and II, called depleted uranium. Depleted uranium is the cheapest weapon for the United States to use. Remember that big white cloud that they shot first over Baghdad? That's depleted uranium. When that air makes that travel into the United States, then we're going to get this. And here's what it does to the soldiers. When they come home and make love to their girlfriends or wives, their kids are deformed. It's a slow death because it eats a slow process inside you. That's what it does. It's also the cheapest weapon to use in war. They made it by law not to use it. Then George W. Bush Jr. went ahead and shot that shit over there in Baghdad. Because Saddam Hussein did it on his people, because they showed it on TV, all the people were
The
dead
biological
for
warfare,
the
chemical
depleted
warfare.
uranium. And each war has a different chemical they're using, because you're in biological shit now. But they're making $80 billion a war. They're making a profit off of our kids. And it's our kids that are dying for this country, it's not their kids. And the American people ain't stupid, and they're waking up, and they're waking up to a lot of shit that's going on in our life with the bad ETs are the ones that give them the technology to do what they've been doing ever since 1943. Me and my dad got through 1945, we just and where they're at today. And all the planets they have bases on that we don't know about. And we're entitled to know everything.
Hey, I seen on the internet the other day how Chile is wanting to integrate half-breed kids in their society, half alien, half human. Have you heard about that?
I don't know. I haven't.
Hybrid kids, integrate that into their
Well,
society.
that's going to come anyway, you know, because Putin and China have been waiting for what's going to come up ahead over here, you know, about Hillary and Trump. And it's going to happen this month, but we'll play it out and see.
Well, just
Because
by them,
If they, wait a minute, if they call out Hillary and Trump, they're the two leaders. There's no election, go ahead,
What do you mean, why is it?
because they're going to call them out.
just by them making a statement like that down in Chile, like he's saying, that in itself implies that they know something. Either that already is here or is going to be here real soon. They know something.
Well, there's something,
Or
yeah.
why would they say, oh, we're going to integrate hybrid
Well, here's
kids?
the deal, Andy. I can tell you about this.
there's several countries in the world that have already said, yes, we know about star people. We know they exist. We know
Brazil.
they've been visiting us. Mexico,
France.
Brazil, France. There's major countries, G7 countries. Canada is close because of
I mean-
Paul Hellyer.
Yeah.
You
Are
know,
they saying this because they know that they already exist, or they're just saying it because they know they're gonna be coming, so they're just getting ready? They're
They know
saying,
they.
I think
we're
they
gonna
both.
do this.
They know
both.
they.
It depends. I mean, look at the popularity. I don't mean to cut you off, Ray. Look at the popularity of Jaime Maussan down in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's you know. Go ahead.
Brazil, Mexico, all the
South America.
countries are telling their people what the hell's going on. The United States, okay, they think the American people are stupid. Like we don't know what's going on. Like we didn't know about Roswell. Roswell's the biggest joke,
Yeah.
okay? But it was real.
Well, our higher ups are trying to hold on to that power as long as they can.
Here's what they're gonna do. They're gonna live with the lie even when contact happens. They have to,
To try to hold on.
okay? But anyway, anybody got any more questions? My next guest, I'm gonna have a new guest now. Boris and Rosa Gonzalez from New York. You're gonna see pictures on Facebook that he's showing ETs. Because the last show I had, what they're doing is like 48,000 feet. They're gonna come to 30. They wanna see the people's reaction. The lower they get, because then you're going to be able to see detail of the craft and the creatures in. They're going to start showing ourselves. Okay? This is a process. I don't know exactly the ETs that Boris is talking to, but they was telling him and Rosa, this is the guy we want you to start working with. And I swear to God, I was shocked because they showed him a picture of me.
Yep.
And now, me and Boris and Rosa are gonna work together as much as we can. I'm the voice, Boris takes the pictures, and so does Rosa. You go to my Facebook, you're gonna see him. You're gonna see all the pictures he's showing. He's getting real good clips of UFOs.
You did an interview too that's on your page, that's very informative, he
Okay.
knows a lot of stuff.
And they're gonna be here next month. And he's gonna have pictures to show. He speaks pretty good English, Rosa doesn't. And after him will be John Mayer, who is a good friend of Tolley. He's in England. This guy's really something to hear. And then I got Julian Wells. And I think he's a Palladian. And I'm not German. You like this guy. And right now, I want everybody to say prayers for Sandy, husband, Tony Tripp, who has pneumonia. He's in a hospital. She's also trying to get donations so that Barbara Lamb, who I had here for a guest speaker, so she's on a regression. She thinks she has something to do with being on Valiant Thor's team. Valiant Thor is going to play a big part in this. He's going to get confirmation, I said before, in 1957, 1960. The reason I say that, he was smart. He came from Venus, he's a physician. He wanted to see what kind of power we had. That was his whole thing. Okay, so I want you to understand that part. Because what's going to happen under the manuscript of all the good ETs out there, when we go into the 4th and 5th, we're going to be under that manuscript that we should have been a long time ago to not have a house payment or any kind of bill, okay? So you're going to trade energy and goods just like ET. The monetary system we're under now, you know more. All these people that are rich, trillionaires and all that, zero, don't mean nothing anymore.
So they'll be on even ground with all of us.
Well, they're going to be gone. Because these people are corrupted and killed.
Wait a minute. So the Rockefellers are gonna be homeless.
Because under the monetary system we're under, which they wanted, and the control, you know, because these people are hydroglyphic activities again. Oh, here's one thing I want to say, because I said this with the buttons. I said it on, I think, Sam's show. They have these invisible buttons. Like, you're going to see Hillary, Trump, whoever, speaking. George and his crew is going to activate them buttons to show who that thing is that's talking. So if you see Hillary talking at a conference or something, you see that she turns into a reptilian, that's what she is. You see
She really does speak with fortune.
If you see Trump turn into a praying mantis, that's what he is. I'm just saying, they're gonna be called out, and there's nothing they can do to stop the activation of what the good ET.
Well, who's gonna see that? Because you're not gonna see
You're gonna
that
see it on TV.
seriously, like on Channel 5 or
You'll see it
whatever.
on TV. If they get activated on TV speaking at a conference, whoever it is, exposed, because she can't.
Well, if something like that really happens on TV while I'm watching the debate
I'm
or
just
something, then
telling
that's
you,
it. You know that's the cat's out of the bag then.
The American
It'll be-
people will see it,
The
okay?
lizard.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just giving you information from my guys.
Well, I mean, that'll be it. The world will know something then.
Well, they're gonna know other things too, whoever gets the first contact on it. So if there's no more questions, that's about it. It was a great show.
Yeah, good.